So this video explains how the floodgate system works. It's not just a floodgate, it's a whole system. So this property is 14,700 square feet. It's surrounded by a block wall. As you can see, this is the wall here. What we did was to put a box drain on right or wrong, except for a little piece at the back where we couldn't put the drain. So there's a box drain. If you look at the depth, come and look at the depth. So it's a pretty deep box drain, and it goes on both the eastern and western front end of the building of the property out to the public drainage. There it has two flap valves. If there is water outside, the flap valves will close automatically and the water will build up into the drain. As it builds up into the drain, it will go through this two pipes here, 4-inch pipes, and it will start to fill up this sump well. In this sump well, there are two sump pumps. You have an inspection. You could go in and take a peek. There's an inspection point. You could take a look at the sump well and the pumps. Take a look at the pumps inside the sump well. And it really only uses one pump. If that pump fails, let's say the float or the electrical, the second pump will come on automatically as well. So it's operated based on a float. And there's electrical here from the sump well into a panel where each pump is controlled with a breaker. We use proper armored cable throughout to feed it. These are additional armored cable that's going to feed the gate, and eventually it will, when the floodgate is automated, we'll be powering it right from this panel. There's also an inspection point where the sump pumps are connected. If you have to remove it, you open here and you disconnect the connections, and then you could remove the sump pump. Now there are two of these sump wells. One is on this western side of the building, and one is on the the property, and one is on the eastern side of the property. Again, on the eastern side we have a drain just like this, but that will flow into the sump well once the valves are closed off on that side. In addition to the wall previously, we decided to plaster it to retain as much, to stop as much water seeping through as possible. What happens is that this drain, when there is flood on the outside wall, it will have seepage. So that seepage goes into the drain as well. In addition, if rain was to fall while the floodgate is closed, and as well as the valves, the water will build up in the drain and it will be pumped out from the pumps in the sump well. So that's this part of the design, a very important part, because once you seal the property now with the floodgate, there would be water inside when the valves close off. Right? So this is the floodgate now. So the floodgate, it's 4 feet high. Go across there. I'm going to roll it so you can see it. Right, go outside there, and I would roll the gate and explain the floodgate. Right, before I open it fully, this gate is in front of the driveway. What we did was to put first of all, we redesigned the post for the normal gate for the property, and we built this little retain enclosure. It is, if you come quickly, you will see the pump is on. It just triggered on, and that's because there's flood waters outside right now. It's now receding, so that pump, as you can see, the flood water will be covering the valves outside. So the valves are closed, and therefore water is going into the sump well, either from leakage or from normal use from the house. So the pumps are functional. Anyway, back to this. So this steel, the post was redesigned to move the normal property gate inside, and at this point we have a little enclosure for when you close the gate. If it were to fail, it will hold the gate from being pushed totally out and damage anybody. But this also acts as the hook for the seal. So this is against this post, and it's sealed right around, and it's sealed in with a flat 6-inch plate on the ground as well. So this corner and this point here is what we use as the plate for the seal. If you come on this side a little, don't find the water. This is the seal on the gate. So this seal is a Z, 2 angle iron. Yes, 2 angle iron that forms a Z, and there's neoprene rubber, soft neoprene rubber on this seal, making up this seal, and this actually goes into that piece of steel that we have, the plate that we have on the wall, and it hooks, it forms a hook, and this happens in 2 points of the gate. One is a little bit inside. That one has to be inside, because when you open the gate, you want it to be at least level here. If this is further into this edge here, the gate wouldn't open past that point. Now these seals are removable and serviceable. You can unbolt it, remove it, and repair the seals if they're damaged, and then bolt it back up. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. Very easy to remove. At the bottom here now on the gate, there are neoprene as well. There are 2 types of neoprene. One is a very stiff neoprene. I forgot the hardness for that, but that is pasted onto the steel. Remember, under the steel is like this. So you paste on that. I think that is about a 2.5-inch neoprene strip pasted on right through underneath, and that use special glue for the neoprene to adhere to the steel. And on that hard neoprene, there's a soft spongy type neoprene. I will show you that later in the video. There's a spongy type neoprene. That one is about 1.5 inches, and it's self-adhesive, so you peel out the backing and then you paste it on that neoprene, and that forms the seal. The important part of this seal are the corners. So it was designed, the corners underneath here was designed as an L, and specially and carefully cut so that it fits into the edge of the plate, the 90-degree corner of the plate down there, right? And that is on both sides where we do the seal. Now once this gate, so those are the 2 outside seals, plus we designed it so that the seals are on the outside. As the water presses against the gate, it actually put force against the seal and seals it even better, right? But so that is for the force going that way. To seal down, the weight of the gate seals it down. If you come on this side, so the gate is mounted on 2 RV jacks, recreational vehicle jacks they call it. These are electric jacks. Connected electrical part of it as yet. You could operate it manually. Here we have a ratchet socket, and you can move this RV jack up and down, right? At the end of the RV jack on that side, we have a 4-inch wheel, a steel wheel that you would normally use that with sliding gates. So we do have on this side the V of a sliding gate track as part of the plate. So, and then the gate is also balanced in such a way that you can put the 2 jacks on this side of the gate and jack it up, and it stays balanced, right? And it actually balances more towards that direction, so it can put a force in that direction. So for that reason, what we have here are the guides. So we have some rolling guides here, one on this side and one on that side to take the force, and these guides and this stop in particular holds the gate in place as well as take the force when you're moving it. The gate, we designed it so you can only go a certain height as well. That helps to contain the gate. But you can slide the gate all the way out, jack it up, and take it out to service it. Right. So let me just push the gate in place now. aligned on the outside and on that end. Once it's aligned, it will go straight. If you come and look at that point, you would see the seals are hooked in here into the angle is here and the hook. So we could actually jack this down now, it will just drop. Alright? Remember I told you it's important that that bottom part design to also go in. So the rubber, the hard neoprene rubber was cut with a little notch to go inside that angle iron here. So now that it is in place, and let's take a look at a similar one on this side. So this is the angle for this one, and the seal is on this plate here, that Z, similar Z, it hooks into that angle the same way as on that side. So it's hooked in there, and once it's lined up, it's just a matter of dropping the gate by reversing by releasing the jacks. The jacks are protected, it has a level. The mechanical and electrical piece protected by that level cover. The ratchet has to be in the next direction. The socket is probably a 10 socket, 7/16 something. Same. Right. So as I started doing this, you will see the jack going up. So as the jack going up, the gate goes down and it is dropping onto the seal. Now I didn't have the gate very high, and that is important so that you're not dropping a whole angle like this. The gate is very low, so when you drop it, it's a small drop. Right? You can jack the gate almost all the way up to the top here if you have the surface of top. So once this jack is dropped now, the wheel will spin. Right? So the pressure is, the weight of the gate now is on that soft neoprene, and it's hooked on that side. This side, we just give it a quick check, the alignment is good. We do the same thing. Yeah. So it's dropping there. So I also have a mark here that I use to make sure we don't jack it too high, at least at the time that you pushing it in place. So this one is off, the wheel is spinning. So the gate now is fully on the neoprene, it's on the plate, and it's hooked in there. But it will have a little movement. So what we do, we have, I'll show you from this side now. At this point in time, we just take two wood and we wedge it back. I do it from here. We just wedge it back like that, and more to the middle. And we push it in like that. So that is enough to hold it in place. It's not supposed to move there. The idea is to put a bolt here so it wouldn't move as well. Just additional safety, but at this point, if you wedge both sides, it would not move. And then the force of the water continually push. The weight keeps it down, and that forms the seal. So the next, let me just push this up. So to replace the wedge, what we have are two motorized arms. These arms, when I connect it, and they will be electrically operated, and this shaft here, just like a sliding gate, a swing gate, it has a shaft like this. The shaft will push out. So this shaft will push out here, push the gate this direction, and at that point in time, it will also align with a pin to pin it. So you don't have to worry about bolting it down. And there's one of this on both sides, of course, after the seal on both sides. So this part is still in progress and to be done soon. The jacks as well also are electric, and they will be, I have to still design a controller for the whole thing. So the controller will also be able to operate the jacks. The jacks are electric jacks, right? And thirdly, it will have a motorized, the gate itself will be motorized, a very heavy gate, so I have a motor that will handle that weight. And the challenge with this is that normally the teeth for our sliding gate will face down, and it will be in this sprocket to pull the gate up and down. So instead, with this gate, because you have to move it up and down, the teeth, you have to be careful in aligning it to the sprocket. So this one would actually be a chain operated gate. So it would give you that capability of moving on the sprocket without putting tension on the motor and the sprocket system. So that piece, I have the motor and the chain and everything. Is just to complete the actual design and then do the wiring. The wiring itself must be, because the jacks and the arms are on the gate, they must have wiring that will move with the gate to power those. But that's 12-volt wiring, by the way. The motor, of course, will be stationary on the ground on a little height as well. So once it's locked in there, water will seep in, you will get seepage. So the whole system on both sides designed, when the water seeps in here into the driveway, it goes down in that direction, drops into the drainage system and start filling up. So as it goes into the drain, it will start full up into the sump well. So as I said, it is not. So as I said, this is not just a floodgate; it's a whole system where the property has been blocked around. The drainage set up for the sump well to handle leaks, which you would expect from the walls as more and more pressure builds up, as water heightens on both sides, and you get seepage on right through, as well as when rain falls or using water in the kitchen and the bathroom and so on, you would have all that water connect on both sump wells and pumped out. Both sides have two pumps. One is a backup pump and one is the main pump that comes on and off. You could actually, if you switch off the main pump, the backup pump will function. So you could take off the main pump for servicing while you still have the backup pump. In addition, if there is ever, for some reason, a high capacity of water, the separation between the two pumps in the floats are such that if the first pump, if the main pump is not handling that capacity, the two pumps will come on and pump out at the same time. So this is the second sump well here. And as you can see, this is the next drain. The water is building up in this right now because the outside has flood. So it will trigger on soon, probably, as it probably need to lift a next inch on it. It will trigger on. This is the electrical section for that sump well, for the two pumps in the sump well to be able to service, remove the electrical and so on. Both are on an electrical system with a separate panel on this side. This is the electrical panel on this side here. And this is the meter based in house. So that's the separate panel. So you have to neaten up the cables here. Right? So this is the separate panel with the breakers for the two pumps that we could switch off. In addition to this whole system now, we have a backup solar system which we will go through in another video. That backup solar system, we could simply switch it if TNTech or utility power is off. We could simply switch it to solar and power these two panels that you saw there. So and that solar system could handle the pumps for probably about 2 to 3 hours with on and off use. The pumps tend to come on when it's about 16 inches on the gate. Because it's 16 inches on the gate, you have the seepage, no rain. The pumps tend to come on this left side every 3 minutes, 6 to 3 minutes, anywhere between that. And on the next side, the western side, it's about every 2 to 3 minutes. As the water, of course, gets higher outside, you get more seepage and the pump will come on with more frequency. As you use water in the bathroom and the sinks and so on, water will come here and will increase the frequency just for that short period. And of course, if rain is falling, the whole property is drained into here, all the gutter and everything, so it will come on as well very frequently at that point in time. The pumps are rated to be continuous duty in addition to the normal sump on and off. Right? And now, in addition to the solar system, we have in addition to the solar That will give you a buffer time of 2 to 3 hours for the pumps to operate. We have a generator as well. It's a 5,000 kVA generator which will power the house in addition to these pumps. So we can switch to the generator. It's a simple electrical, well, it's a smart switch that I operate from the phone. You can switch between solar and generator. Once we switch, of course, the utility to the backup power, we could switch from the you can switch between the backup powers, whether it's solar or generators. So that's about it. That's the design. So let's go back and see how easy it is to put the gate back up as well. You don't just want to see it go down. The front wall, by the way, the front wall wasn't originally at that height. It was at the ground height, so we lifted the front wall and it is solid concrete. Well, it's blocks and they will fill with concrete. So this is where you get most of the water sitting against the property. So let us lift the gate. Just to mention as well, that front wall, neighbor's front wall here, in 2018 the water level was to the middle point of the fancy blocks, the lower fancy blocks, and in 2022 it was to the middle point of the two fancy blocks. Those were the highest points we ever got, 2018 and 2022. Now the property itself is off the road by about 2 feet. Maybe a little bit more than 2 feet. It depends where you measure and whether you're measuring the road or from the drain. Because water shouldn't even be at the top of the drain pipe. So ideally you should be measuring from the top of the drain. So if that is the case, it is off by about 2.5 feet or so. Maybe 3 feet. So this is how you jack up the gate. Just simply switch the ratchet. Yeah, I have the mark, so I don't raise it too high. You don't really need to raise it too high. Do the same thing on this side. Of course, if you have the wedge in here, remove that first. Or if you using later on, if you're using the arm on the gate, you will release the pressure on that before you jack it up. So as you see, the wheels are going down. On the side as well. Once it's up off the bottom seal, simply slide it. The gate itself is galvanized, framed with galvanized sheeting. Forget the gauge, where it's a very thick galvanized sheeting gauge. If you come and look here. So the sheeting was bent, pre-bent before it was slid into the frame. So the sheeting is bent like this, as you can see. So it forms a seal. You don't have to worry about seams on this side of the gate, to the top and the bottom. Right? Remember these neoprene seal is on this point in the bottom, so there's no seal to worry about leaking to the bottom except the neoprene itself. This is I'll give out the gauge of this steel at a later date. And that's it. So because the seal is at that point, a little bit away, this is where the gate will stop, it will bounce. The piece of steel that is pegged against the wall for the other seal on that end. So this is where it was designed to stop. You do have to make some nice spacing for these two sides. On this side, we're going to make a covering here that will flip open automatically. You would need to have the back as well open, so in case we have to do any kind of quick maintenance while the gate is up and in place. So it's still a work in progress to do all the finishing and the cosmetic look of it, but and of course to automate it. But of course it's a fully functional floodgate. It saved our property from flood in 2018, and 2022. Right, and that's it. That's about it.